Hello everyone and welcome to my Disney World planning series. In today's video, we are going to be talking about where you should stay when you are visiting Disney World. A lot goes into this decision, whether you should even stay on property or off property, what type of hotel resort you want to stay at, whether it's a value, a moderate, a deluxe. We're not going to go into each and every resort and everything they have to offer because I haven't been at every resort. I've only actually stayed in 3: Caribbean Beach, All-Star Movies, and Wilderness Lodge. 1 value, 1 moderate, and 1 deluxe. When I was growing up, we actually always stayed off property in my parents' timeshare. So that was majority of the time was off property. And that was back in the day when you didn't have to worry about the lightning lanes and the dining reservations and all that. So it really didn't matter as much back then, but we are going to talk about why it could matter now and whether it's still a good option. So let's get into it. So to start off, we should really talk about what is the benefit of staying on property, because I'm sure a lot of you are looking at those prices and wondering why on earth anybody is going to spend those prices just to stay on property. And there are a few reasons for that. The 2 main reasons is that now with the Lightning Lane Multi-Pass, if you stay on property, you get to choose your 3 selections 7 days in advance for your whole stay. Now, this is really a huge benefit because if you're staying off property and you can only choose 3 days in advance, a lot of those time slots are already going to be chosen. So that is definitely going to be a downside, especially if you're going during a busier time and a lot of those lightning lanes are already going to be snatched up. The second really big benefit is being able to have your dining reservations 60 days in advance of your arrival day and being able to book your entire stay up to 10 days. If you are staying off property, you can book 60 days in advance on each of those days. So if you are staying from Monday through Friday, on Wednesday, you need to book 60 days from that Wednesday. You need to book 60 days from that Thursday. If you're staying on property and you're going Monday through Friday, you can book Thursday on 60 days from Monday. Another thing about staying on property is you get early entry. You get 30 minutes early entry. And also if you're staying deluxe, you get extended evening hours as well. And that's only for on-property guests. So that is another thing to think about. On property is going to put you in the Disney bubble, and this can be huge for a lot of people. A lot of people really just want to feel that Disney feeling, and being on property it just puts you in the magic your whole stay. You don't have to worry about traveling on the highways or in and out, going, through traffic and all of that. Even if you're on a bus through traffic, you're on a Disney bus. So it just makes it a little bit more magical. And it is true. When you're staying in the bubble, you really do feel that magical feeling all the time. So that brings us into the other thing, which is the Disney transportation and the convenience of it, and not having to drive and park and pay for parking and have to deal with traffic while you're driving. It is a really nice thing to be able to even just use the buses and the Skyliner and the monorail and the boats. It's a lot of fun, and I think that's another part of the bubble, is being able to really utilize all of these transportation options. Now, you can always use the Disney transportation options if you are staying off property. You could always get an Uber in somewhere, get dropped off and use the transportation, and then get an Uber back when you're ready to go. But if you are driving, you really do need to park at the theme parks and or at Disney Springs, but you can't park at Disney Springs and transfer to the parks. You're not allowed to do that. And you can't park at the resorts unless you have a dining reservation. So if you had wanted to go to a resort, you really do need to utilize the Disney transportation, and that means either parking at Disney Springs and taking a bus to a resort, or parking at the parks and taking a bus to the resort, unless you have a dining reservation. And listen, I do understand why someone would want to stay off property. Disney is expensive. It really is. And if your only way of going to Disney is to stay off property, then by all means do it. Do that. Don't feel like you have to stay on property in order to go. If you staying on property means that you can't go, or you can't go for as long, stay off property. Maybe go during a less busy time so you don't have to worry as much about the lightning lane selection and the dining reservations. If you go at a slower time, it really won't matter as much. I think you would be able to get, everything that you needed in, and you wouldn't have as much traffic coming in and all of that same things. If you want to go during a really busy time, I highly recommend staying on property, even if it's at a value resort. The value resorts are really nice, and they are very affordable as a resort for the things that you get. Now, if you do decide that you do want to stay on property, there are a few factors that go into where on property you're going to stay. So you're going to have your value resorts, your moderate resorts, and your deluxe resorts, as well as renting DVC points, which we're not going to even talk about that in this video. That's going to be something for another time. So your value resorts are going to be your more budget-friendly resorts. Moderates are going to be in the middle, obviously. Price point wise, you get a little bit more than the values. And then you have your deluxe resorts, which are going to be your most expensive, but also your most luxurious, closer to the parks, and a lot more amenities that go along with staying at a deluxe resort. A lot of things go into where you decide you want to stay, and a lot of that really breaks down to what your budget is and how you want to spend your money. And sometimes, depending on the scenario and your situation, it might be different every time. You might decide that you want to spend, you have your budget, and you know what? You want to stay at a value resort so that you can go to the parks every day. That is a very reasonable way to spend your money. Or you can spend a majority of your money on a deluxe resort. And you know what? If you are staying in a deluxe resort, unless you have no budget, you really should take a few days to explore your resort. Don't spend all that money and stay at the parks the entire time. When we stayed at Wilderness Lodge for 7 days, we only went to the parks for 3 days. We really wanted to explore our resort, take it in, go to the pool, all of that kind of stuff. And I really feel like we spent our money well that way. Yes, we got to the parks, but we also felt like our resort was part of our vacation. And I feel like that is what staying at a deluxe resort is like. The resort is part of your vacation. So if you want to spend your money on that and have a few days where you're just relaxing and taking time away from the parks, I think that that's a great way to do that. I'm not sure if I would want to stay again at All Star Movies, which is where I stayed. I actually stayed there with my sister a few years ago. And, we went to the parks every day. I'm not sure if I would have wanted to hang around that resort for like 2 or 3 days. There's not much going on. There's not a lot of food options. We would have had to have taken another transportation to get somewhere else. So if you're doing value, go to the parks every day. That's what you should be doing if you're saying value. But when you're, like I said, when you're in a deluxe or even in a moderate, take a few days to rest and explore your resort. And I feel like that's a really good way to balance your budget. And you can do it, if you know you want to go multiple times throughout your life, do it different ways. This trip, do a value in the parks every day. The next trip, do a deluxe and only a few parks and explore Disney Springs more, or your resort, or go resort hopping. That kind of stuff is really fun too. And it really, again, that whole Disney bubble thing, it puts you in the magic to be able to go and explore around Disney World. Yes, the parks are amazing, but there's so much more to offer. And if you're at the parks every day, you don't get that. So maybe have a chance to explore more and feel like you're really spending your money and staying someplace where you can really rest and relax. So that really does it for this video. I hope that it helped. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe and check out my other videos in this series to help you plan your trip. And if you have any other comments what your best resort is, please leave them in the comments below. And until next time.